What's going on, guys? Your boy Mason here, back with another video, and in today's video, guys, we're going to be revisiting the previous anniversary festivals in the lead up to the brand new 6-year anniversary character, and we're going to be discussing all those characters, how they impacted the game, and how insane they were on their release. So if you guys do enjoy videos like this, man, definitely make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, as we are on the road to that 52,000 subscribers. I definitely do appreciate the support on the channel, guys, and with that out of the way, man, let's hop in and let's go into the first anniversary character, being Goddess Elizabeth. Alright, guys, it might be kind of shocking, but man, the first year anniversary character was the blue Goddess Elizabeth. If you guys were there back then for this character, you'll know how absurd this character was, man. Absolutely insane. And yeah, I mean, it pretty much like was the catalyst of all these like broken revive mechanics, these broken, like, you know, healing effects. This was the character to really push that into this game. So for you guys that don't know what this Goddess Elizabeth is, she is the holy warrior version of Goddess Liz. So she's the one with Trader Melly, you know, those years ago in the actual show. And yeah, I mean, she was a insanely strong character, guys. If we go to her passive right here, this was for the first year anniversary. So bear in mind, like, you know, we're reading this passive now, and it's like, okay, it's not crazy nowadays, but back in the day, man, this was absolutely insane. So Embrace of the Goddess. When an ally dies, they are revived with the same amount of HP they had before dying, limit once, and applies when entering battle. Dying by reflect of effects, nullify, revives, and use it up. So you guys can see right there that she had a revive effect. She was the first character in the game to have some type of revive. I mean, we had like Red Melascula, right? And she had like the, you know, the blue buff revive, which I guess counted, you know, in a sense. But this was the like first like actual revive that like mattered for content in the game. And she was super dominant because of that, right? And another thing she had too, which till this day, if like nowadays characters get this skill, it's still a broken skill, by the way. This was the Goddess Bless, which was creating a barrier around all allies equal to 150% of attack for one turn, and you take damage from only basic stats when attacked, guys. That's crazy, right? Because that means that you only take the flat amount of damage on a skill, so you'd only take, you know, 200% of attack. Even if this had like a secondary effect, it would just completely nullify that, and you would only take the base amount of attack percent. So this type of shield was super insane. And guess who has that shield nowadays, guys? Guess who? This character has that shield in their talent, right? This character has that effect in a talent nowadays. So that's how you know, like, the amount of power creep that this game's had since. And Goddess Liz was obviously like the catalyst to like that type of power creep. But yeah, man, I mean, that was like an absurd thing at the time. This you know, buff card, and then with her revive and her passive, she also did have a reflect on her ultimate, which reflected the damage she received, and she even reflected more than she took at higher dupe levels, which was crazy. Right at the 6 of the 6, you had 120% of the damage taken was reflected to the enemy. So yeah, I mean, it was just pretty absurd, guys. She also had a stun card at the time, which was really nice because it was a debuff that even though you were able to like kind of get it off, you were still able to follow up attack a character. Whereas, like, you know, with Petrify, you if you actually petrified an enemy, you would have to not attack them so that they would stay petrified. Whereas with stun, you could stun them and then still damage them. So yeah, at the time, just a very, very dominant character, guys. She did get a holy relic over time after the fact, and it just increased the strength of the barrier, right? So not a crazy holy relic, but for her time, she was very, very dominant and a really good anniversary character in retrospect. You know, back then, I feel like a lot of people didn't like it, but I mean, for its time and what she was able to provide to the game, yeah, I mean, she was a good unit. She was a really good unit. Moving on to the 2nd year anniversary, we had Purgatory Bond. Now, it's crazy to think as well, by the way, Purgatory Bond was an anniversary character, and this was the second Annie character for JP. Yeah, I mean, this character was the power creep. This was the unit that got Seaton to just drop the game, because he was like, I'm good, guys. We're done with this crazy, like, you know, effects and crazy scaling that, yeah, I mean, like, it's fair, though. It's fair, you know, because this character was just insanely dominant on his release. Just an absurd character, the first character to actually scale on a different stat than attack that actually mattered, you know, so it was just insane. So let's go over the passive real quick here, guys. So Body of Broken Limits. Every time the hero's ultimate move gauge fills up by 1 orb from using, moving, or ranking up skills, the hero's max HP increases by 8% up to 5 times for 3 turns and removes all stat decrease effects from self. So this was active in all content, by the way. You know, this character was really good in everything at the time too. And yeah, I mean, Bond was a HP scaling character. You can see from his skills, inflicts detonate damage equal to 9% of the hero's max HP on all enemies. So he scaled through the higher his max HP, the more damage this character was able to do. And he even had a gift card or a buff card right here called Gift, which applied an effect on the hero which restores 20% of diminished HP at the start of the ally's turn for 2 turns and increased the max HP of the character, and that also scaled up as well. So, you know, the fact that we had a character that gave itself HP and then also made it so that, you know, whenever you gain gauge, you gain HP, right? Because you get it from the passive right here. And then, yeah, I mean, detonate, meaning that the higher the enemy's ultimate move gauge was, you did more damage. Like, this character, guys, was just cracked out of his mind, right? Absolutely absurd. And then you know, what would you even call that? The icing on top? I don't know. You know, the final thing that was like the most broken thing about him was that he had Rupture at a 6 out of 6 dupe level and 45% of the hero's max HP on all enemies. Insanely broken, guys. This was like, when this ultimate dropped, it was the strongest ultimate in the game, just like barring like literally no other ultimate did as much damage as this card. It was so broken. And remember too that alongside Purgatory Bond, we had the Red Arthur. If you guys remember, it was this one right here, the Red Excalibur Arthur. He increased human allies' max HP. He gave them damage dealt. He, you know, had gauge reduction on the enemies. So, you know, the whole human team was just absolutely absurd at the time. And like, I mean, Purgatory Bond for his time was such a dominant character. And until this day, we are feeling the power creep effects of this character. It's the same with Goddess Liz. Like, every anniversary character has always done something to the game that's just like, you know, made it crazy. Right? It was just absolutely absurd in what they were able to do. And so yeah, that was pretty much Purgatory Bond. He did get a Holy Relic as well, which increased the hero's max HP by 15% each time an ally dies. So when you were killing his team as well, he was getting even stronger as well, guys. So it wasn't even just like, oh, you all rush and you get your ult and you nuke them. You also had the opportunity, if your team was dying, Bond would still get really good damage off. And that was just insanely strong for its time. So yeah, that is Purgatory Bond right there. Let's move on to the 3rd year anniversary character being Light Elizabeth. So Light Elizabeth, guys, was the 3rd year anniversary character, and I think it was actually the first time Grand Cross ever had top grossing, which is crazy. And you know what was so insane about this character too is that she released when Dragon Ball Legends was getting UI Goku, and we beat UI Goku for top grossing. That's what was so shocking to me about this character. And it wasn't even like Elizabeth was like a super hype character. I think in Japan, just, you know, the Japanese people really love Elizabeth. And yeah, I mean, she's a cool character, but it was just like a little crazy, you know. So yeah, this character, for her time, she was good. She wasn't like an insane power creep or anything like that. I feel like Trainer Melly was still like far and away, you know, for the most part better than this character. Because she was the second, you know, light or dark attribute character in the game. It was like the first time ever, you know, they released a light, and so she was that character. But yeah, I mean, like, she wasn't like that insane as like Purgatory Bond and even the original Goddess Liz. They weren't even close. So yeah, and then going into her skills here, guys, for her first skill, she had Flood single target, which, I mean, Flood was just a very strong skill in general. I mean, first time and even, like, you know, around that time period, Flood was just super strong. And then her AoE skill here being the Volley of Light, it inflicted damage equal to 110% of attack on all enemies, and then for then also deals additional damage equal to the hero's max HP for every orb in the hero's ultimate move gauge. So she even had a little bit of HP scaling in her damage. So she had max HP scaling with the fact that it was still her attack percent scaling too. So this was a character that was a free HP defense unit. You slapped HP defense, she was gonna cook, and yeah, I mean, that was really nice. For her passive, she had basic stats for the entire team for applicable allies, which were 7 Deadly Sins or the 4 Archangels, and then she also recovered 30% of maximum HP for them once you were able to attack, I think it was, yeah, so it's every time an applicable ally used a skill, and you stacked it up to 6 times, and once you did that full stack, you got the applicable allies recover HP, and then she gained 15% all stats. So yeah, it was good for its time, like, for sure. Like, Goddess team was really dominant at its time, and yeah, I mean, Elizabeth, you know, was a good character because of that. She gave them healing, she gave them, you know, basic stats, and she herself had a bunch of all stats too. So yeah, that was obviously very strong. And then moving on to her ultimate, guys, this was the part that was like, you know, a little bit more dupe dependent, and we talked about it with Purgatory Bond being that a 6 out of 6 ultimate, you got Rupture. For this character right here, it gave you gray buffs for your revive at 5 out of 6, 6 out of 6, and before that it was always a blue buff. And so in her ultimate here, she inflicts damage equal to her max HP by 60% on all enemies, and it applies resurrection on allies for 2 turns, which revives them with 50% of their max HP when dying. So she had another revive type effect, but it wasn't as strong as the original Goddess Liz one, in my opinion. Like, I think the original Goddess Liz revive was just so polarizing to the game, whereas like this one, when it came out, it was only through the ultimate you got it, right? It wasn't something where, you know, you just had it by her existing, whereas like the Goddess Liz originally we had that kind of way, right? She was able to do that. So yeah, that was the 3rd year anniversary character, guys, being Light Elizabeth. Let's move on now to the 4th year anniversary, being Transcendent Bond. Alrighty, guys, so hopping into the 4th year anniversary character, it was Transcendent Bond. And bear in mind, guys, this guy was 2 years old from now, right? Like, it's crazy. Like, I can't believe this character is 2 years old now. And yeah, I mean, he was, first time, I mean, when he initially came out, he was not as good as he was, because he actually got buffed. For you guys that didn't know, this was the first character that they just like, okay, they like saw the community feedback was like, damn, you guys really don't like the way he is right now, so they decided to buff the character. And yeah, I mean, after his buff, he was super dominant, guys. Even before his buff, I feel like he was still solid, but he wasn't like the level of what we expect from an anniversary character. And so yeah, they did buff the character, and he is definitely a lot better. And yeah, I mean, you know, 2 years later, he's still a pretty solid character to have on a human team just for the HP alone. Right, like you wouldn't even run him to like run him on the front or anything, but like in maybe PvE content, he's nice to have that HP. And yeah, I mean, for his time, really good character. For his passive here, and this is where we started to see the, you know, team type stat boost and like applicable ally stat buffs, right? So you can see it in at the start of the battle, applies Extortion Zone on the hero, then it increases HP related stats of applicable allies by 5% for each one in the battlefield. So yeah, Bond pretty much just gave you HP related, and I remember in Heroes Arena this was super nice, right? You had a lot of HP related, pretty much your team was always able to, you know, start a turn heal, and it was very nice, right? In addition, the hero's skills result in critical damage when used on an enemy with Mark of Concentration, which is one of his skills. Mark of Concentration minus 100% crit chance. You have Extortion Zone, decreasing applicable allies damage taken by 20%, and additionally decreases the hero's damage taken by 20%, and then decreases all enemies attack related stats by 2% up to 5 times for 2 turns whenever an applicable ally used a skill during the ally's turn. And then the applicable allies for the Extortion Zone would be 7 Deadly Sins, Fairies, and Humans. So yeah, he was the first character that was like, oh, we're gonna buff, you know, 7 Deadly Sins, Fairies, and Humans. So all those, you know, applicable allies being able to be buffed was really crazy for its time, because we just did not expect that. I mean, I think on his initial like release before the buff, he was just Humans and 7 Deadly Sins, and then they added Fairies, I think, and then they gave him all the other stuff as well. I think that's how it was, or it might have been just 7 Deadly Sins. I could be wrong. Someone would have to fact check me in the comments below, but yeah, first passive, it was really good. You had Mark of Concentration, obviously being a single target, which had Pierce, and then a secondary effect. So this was like around the time where they started doing 2 effects in one skill. And you guys see right here, Pierce times 3 Pierce rate increase, and Mark of Concentration minus 100% crit chance. So you had multiple effects on skills now, right? And then even for this skill right here, the snipe card, it was damage dealt per active debuff on the target limit of 7 times, and then also times 2 critical damage on top of that. So you guys can see that we had multiple skills nowadays, and starting from 2 years ago around that time, they started to release characters that had multiple effects in their, you know, cards, which I thought was pretty cool. You know, it was definitely something that Grand Cross had to move towards. And then for the ultimate here, the main controversy with the ultimate was that this was one of the first ultimates where dupes in the actual character itself affected the gameplay of the character without ulting, right? This is where if participating in the battle, the hero's attack related stats increase by 3% up to 30% for every attack related stats decrease effect on the enemies. And this scaled based on dupes. I think it was a certain amount of attack related you got, and I think it did cap out, I think, at 15% at 1 to 6. So it was just insane. And then the actual like ult effect itself increases damage dealt on the target by 40% for each buff, debuff, or stance applied to them, and did power strike damage. So you did, for every buff, debuff, and stance, you did 40% extra damage dealt, and then power strike on top of that, guys. It was one of the strongest just like nuke ultimates in the entire game. right? And still to this day, I would say is one of those strongest ultimates in the game too. Like, for the ceiling of this ultimate, it's definitely up there for the highest damage we could get in Grand Cross, which is crazy to think on an AoE ultimate, by the way. So yeah, that is Transcendent Bond right there, guys. Let's move on now to the latest anniversary character from last year, being Ultimate Esganor, or Eternal Sunshine Esganor. So yeah, guys, crazy. This character is a year old now, man. I can't believe it. But Eternal Sunshine Esganor, the Indomitable, was the anniversary character from last year. This was the first time, by the way, they strayed away from the Elizabeth and Bond anniversaries, because for the first 4 years of Grand Cross's lifespan, we only had a Elizabeth into Bond and an Elizabeth into Bond, right? We've never had anything but Elizabeth and Bond. So we were thinking, like, around this time, oh, maybe we get an Elizabeth, but we actually had Queen Liz from the year prior to Novemberfest. So we were like, damn, who are we gonna get? And we got Esganor the Indomitable. And it was such a good time too, because we did not think we were going to get an Esganor. And if we were going to get an Esganor, we didn't think it was this one, right? We were just like completely shocked. And yeah, I mean, this was after obviously DK Meliodas. So Eternal Sunshine Esganor was the second UR in the game, if I'm not mistaken. Oh no, third UR, because we had Festival Gother, right? So he was the third UR in the game, right? And yeah, I mean, guys, crazy character. I mean, even still to this day, I even run this character sometimes in my Pvs still. Like, he's crazy still, right? So let's talk about exactly what this character was able to do, though. First off, he had a Grace, right? So increases the hero's max HP and critical defense by 10%. And this is just as a mild Grace, right? First passive, applies Burning Sun on the hero at the start of the battle. For 1 turn, the hero does not take more than 50% of max HP as damage from skills during the enemy's turn. If the hero dies, allies gain Burning Sun for 3 turns. In addition, all the hero's stats are increased by 5% for each applicable ally participating in the battle, and the hero's attack-related stats are also increased by 20% for each applicable ally that dies. The hero is always immune to stat decrease effects. And then Burning Sun was additional damage equal to 40% of the target's increased max HP. And then his applicable allies was humans and 7 deadly sins. So yeah, I mean, yeah, guys, like, I mean, in his passive, you already saw it. He's getting a lot of basic stats. He gets all stats. He has damage cap. He had, you know, additional damage dealt against higher max HP skill, like enemies with single target. So yeah, I mean, at the time, I think the main issue was Gelda, and this character was made to kill Gelda, right? It was inflict additional damage equal to 40% of the target's increased max HP. So characters that increased their own max HP, they took even more damage from this Esganor. And he was the counter to that whole Gelda kind of meta that they were, you know, pushing on the game. And so yeah, a single target retribution, it's times 2 critical chance, damage dealt 1.2% for every 1% of the hero remaining HP, and an additional damage equal to 50% of final damage, random damage when resulting in death. So you can see, guys, this is where Grand Cross started ramping up the skill effects. We started getting 2 to 3 skill effects now. Crazy, man, right? Crazy. And then yeah, I mean, 300 and 500% of attack. His AoE here was just Raging Fire, so this one was ignore enemy defense and resistance, and then times 2 pierce rate, so you can see the scaling on that as well. And then for his ultimate here, this is where, look at this, like just look at this, okay? This is like a whole paragraph, right? Crazy. And this was another like on-field effect that this character had, you know, by having higher dupes, right? So increases all stats of the hero by 30% for 2 turns, then inflicts hellfire damage equal to 750% of attack on all enemies. When participating in the battle, the hero incinerates the target's max HP by 100% of the damage dealt when Raging Fire with the Raging Fire effect. And Everlasting Flame is applied to enemies that reach maximum incineration. And in addition, Scorching Flame is applied to all enemies for 1 turn when the hero dies. So Hellfire is ignoring 80% of defense-related stats. Incinerate is incinerating up to 30% of the max HP at the start of the battle. So pretty much the way it works is that your enemy's max HP gets kind of like capped, right? Like you like lower it by a certain amount. And right here, as you guys see, if 30% of the max HP is 300k or higher, the maximum incineration is capped at 300k. So the max amount of HP that Esganor could, like, you know, pretty much like lower from your max total was 300k. So you would cut 300k of your max HP if you were able to get that high. And then Everlasting Flame was damage taken from Raging Fire skills would be plus 50%. And Scorching Flame is damage dealt minus 40% as well. And an additional damage equal to 40% of the remaining HP at the end of the turn. So yeah, guys, that was pretty much all the anniversary characters that we've had in the past 5 years. Now we're coming up on the 6-year anniversary, and it's looking to be a King and Deanne dual unit, but we are gonna have to see exactly what it's gonna be, guys. So yeah, I mean, it's coming out in a few days now, right? So I wanted to do this video so you guys are a little bit hyped about what we can expect from these characters. So that is going to be it for the video. I hope you guys did enjoy, and I'm gonna see you guys on the next one, man. Peace out, have a great rest of your day, guys. See you later, man.